Hi everyone, I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of, I think, around 160,000 now across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups. And not surprisingly, I don't get to meet everybody in that community, but when I do, it's a delight. And Joe Allen has joined me today. Joe is a full member, for which many thanks, Joe. And we're going to have some fun. I'm going to introduce him to you, allow Joe to say hi, and then we're going to create Joe's fantasy cultural year. And as we both have music very much in common, I'm looking forward to that. Joe, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's exciting.
I know, what a lovely way to finish the week. So I've got a few questions I'd like to ask, but just say hi. Uh, where are you based, Joe? I think it's York, isn't it?
Yes, I am based in York. Yeah, lovely, lovely York in the north of England.
Yeah, love it. I did a youth orchestra tour there once, and I understand that within the walls of York there is a pub for every day of the year.
Oh, I've not heard that, but that doesn't surprise me at all. There's a lot.
Yeah, there used well, this is 20 to 30 years ago, but there were 365 pubs within the walls of York. So I'd love to know if there still are. There's a question for ChatGPT afterwards. So you're a musical director, composer, and musician, a Rogue Creators Fund founder. We're
Yeah.
looking forward to hearing more about that. Creativity and culture and in communities, and you present a radio show.
Yes.
Got that about right. So that's great. Wherever this appears, there'll be a profile about you, and links to all of the things that you do. But I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we're going to go on our fantasy cultural year together.
Lovely stuff. Let's do it.
So if you were asked what your superpower was, what would your reply be?
Oh, it's a good one. I think for me, my superpower is definitely going to be the kind of bringing people together. Kind of that is my. I'd say it's very useful as a music director, to be fair. But I so far
It's kind of essential.
it's kind of essential. But like, just I always seem to have whenever I get to the pit, always seem to have a great group of players, whatever the project there. So yeah, always so far every show.
Orchestrating creativity.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of framing it. Yeah,
Yeah, that needs to go on your LinkedIn profile.
yeah, it's very Lincoln.
And where do your passions lie? Clearly, music is an enormous passion for you, as it is for me. As you know, I studied percussion at the Guildhall and played the triangle in the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra for many years. Um, so where do your passions lie in music?
Yeah, so in music specifically, a lot of it is, I mean, a lot of it is jazz. So jazz is a big passion, and kind of what I trained in originally at the Conservatoire in Leeds when I was still Leeds College of Music as a jazz sax player. Uh, it's just, I mean, and like the full breadth and width of the label jazz. I spend a lot of time, obviously, collating music for my radio show every Sunday, but then also within that, really into my free improvisation, free jazz, and kind of have my own ensemble doing improvised music. So that, but also musical theatre. I mean, I spend, that's as a music director, that's a big chunk of my week is playing shows and accompanying singers, um, which is quite nice because a lot of jazz repertoire is the old show tunes from the Great American Songbook. So I guess there's a really nice crossover there.
Yeah,
And then kind of the Rogue one, I guess, that's kind of links it all together, which is kind of where it all comes in, is storytelling, which is kind of a concept, I guess, outside of music. But yeah, storytelling is the biggest influence on everything that I do.
that's great. I read recently somebody posted a quote: "Music can help you remember anything and forget everything," which I love. I thought that was great. And so how did you get here? What was the process? So Leeds College of Music, when it was the Leeds College of Music,
Yeah,
where were the big breaks?
I mean, yeah, it's the process has been fairly long term. I've known I wanted to go into theatre music directing very young age when I saw someone in the West End doing it. I was like, that's so cool. So I did my jazz degree at the College of Music, and then took a year out, and then went back and did my master's degree in music directing, which was just insane, and met some very wonderful creatives along the way. I guess the next kind of big breaks came from the classic theatre music world of friends going, oh, this person needs someone, and you kind of end up networking and meeting people. And so my first ever gig out of my master's degree was doing pantomime, lovely sit down pantomime over in Cheshire, with Les Dennis, and that was my first pro gig as an MD. And Les is lovely, and it was a great time. And then from there, kind of just been picking up bits and pieces of work. I guess then the big piece of the puzzle actually has come this year for me, with realizing the thing that I love the most is community work, working in the community with music. And so this year's been a particularly lovely one. York Theatre Royal, which is the local regional theatre to me, is doing a big project around Joseph Rowntree centenary. So Joseph Rowntree and Sebum Rowntree creating Rowntree chocolates, which were very big in the UK, now owned by Nestle. And so kind of there's been a lot of community theatre and music engagement work off of that. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment.
Yeah, I think Joseph Rowntree, wasn't he the guy who built a village for his workers? Or is that Bourneville?
That might be Bourneville. But he has done a lot for the city of York. I mean, he might as well have built a village if he hasn't.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's so much in the city that just wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Rowntrees. They're Quakers, so they were very big at providing amenities and good quality of life for their workers. So
brilliant.
there's lots of brilliant stuff. And then from there, I mean, for me, so much of my work has come from more than just doing jazz, doing masters of music directing, and also working in those industries. I always have had thoughts. I mean, originally I did an internship at Opera Holland Park as a producer, producing kind of learning how to produce opera. I've had so many different points along the way. Another one was working as the festival manager for Oxfam in Leeds, running a music festival, which we ended up expanding it to a 2-day weekend festival with 10 partner venues in the city. So I've had lots of different fingers and pies, I guess. And now kind of all channeling towards the Rogue Creators Fund, which is also exciting.
Yeah, tell us about that briefly.
Yeah, so Rogue Creators Fund, it is a new initiative based in York and Leeds, essentially looking at how we can long-term crowdfund to support creative projects. So creating community-powered, small micro grants to support local grassroots creatives in the city.
That sounds fantastic. I used to be chair at Culture Chelmsford in Essex, and we were the first charity in Essex to create a cultural compact. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but it's a mechanism for galvanizing promised support. It's a contractual arrangement that we had with 8 big players in the city. The NHS, the local universities, the big employers, the emergency services. We got everybody, schools, and got everybody together, and to a greater and a lesser extent, they all committed to funding the work of the charity to a certain level for 3 years. And so we went from a runway of 2 months to a runway of 3 years in terms of the funding. And recently we set up a junior board for our charity, and they've recently been given £250,000 to do something creative. Wow. And they're all under 18. So
that is brilliant.
I know, I love it. I'm very proud of some of the things that we've done in this country. We were the first country to do social prescribing, in which a doctor, and our American members can't believe this. They say, so your NHS is free, right? Yeah, we don't pay for that. It's free at the point of delivery. And now a doctor can prescribe a trip to an art therapy class, and that's paid for by the NHS. Yep.
Great. It's so important. I mean, I run one of the things I do weekly is I run a community choir on behalf of the People's Show Choir, which is a national organisation. I run the York branch. And just the joy and the well-being you get from singing in a choir every week, and the friendships kind of made, and kind of getting out of the house and all that, it's you can't really just describe in words how powerful that is for the members, but also for myself. I leave every session as a choir leader going, that was great. What a lovely time.
Well, and we've seen a lot of that with Gareth Malone and his TV shows, haven't we? Making it absolutely clear, you know, that's a huge benefit. And long may it continue. Anyway, that all sounds great. So on behalf of all the lives that you will have touched with music over the last few years, thank you very much. You will have made an impact, and I'm sure you'll continue to do so. So that's great work, Joe. Thank you. Now we're going to have some fun now.
Great.
I'm going to take you on a cultural year, and in order to do so, I need to place you somewhere in the world, anywhere in the world. And I'll do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
Great. This is the hard question, I feel. There's so many great buildings. I have had to think about this. I have studied up about what might be coming up on this. So for me, I've chosen Spazio Creative, which is, if you type in St. James Cavalier with Valletta in Malta. So St. James Cavalier, which is the building that's based in. Spazio Creative is like the national centre for creativity.
Right. So let me show our colleagues by sharing my screen, and you can tell me if I found the right place. Would this be correct?
Let's see. That is the one.
Looks wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, it's an old fort that they've now turned into the national centre.
Right.
For creativity.
Fantastic. I'd like you to imagine. It looks. Is that it as well there? Yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, an old photo, but yeah, that is the big kind of.
Right, over here. Over here is a bar.
Lovely.
Okay, it's 6 p.m. on a June day. You've been admiring your favorite building, and there's a drink next to you. What would we find there?
Ooh. 6 p.m. probably low or no alcohol, very citrusy IPA.
Ooh, nice. Very nice. And there's a book on your right. Okay. It could be your favorite book, a book that's been with you all your life, a book that's changed your life, or a recent discovery. What book would we find on the table next to you?
Oh. I'm going to go with a book that's, really one I keep coming back to, which is The Art of, which is Stephen Nachmanovich's books. I mean, both of his books are brilliant, but all about improvisation, etc.
Fantastic. Okay, now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you just had come from a meeting inside the what's it called, the St. James Cavalier. And it's in where? It's in Malta, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
You've just met a very wealthy Maltese family foundation, okay, and they like to invest in research and projects that make arts and culture more accessible to communities around the world. Okay, right in line with your passions, and specifically music. They'd like to hire you for a year, okay, to travel the world at great expense, huge fee, okay, and you're going to make a TV series about community singing and how it differs in different countries around the world. A TV crew will follow you because there'll be a TV series in it. You'll get to do a TED talk when you get back, and there's a book deal and a global university lecture tour after you get back, and it's first class all the way. All of your commitments at home will be covered by this organization. Does that sound like fun?
It does sound like fun.
Friends and family can come and visit you while you're away. They'd like you to create effectively a global league table of community singing capability around where they want to know where it's done best. And that might be a surprise. Okay. So all you have to do is decide where you'd like to start. You can start in any city, anywhere in the world. So where would you like to start?
I am going to start in my partner's home country of Poland. Yes.
Poland.
Yeah,
Krakow?
Poland.
Krakow or Warsaw?
No, probably up in the mountains, up in the Tatra Mountains.
Okay, fantastic. So you're on the plane,
Yeah.
okay, from Malta now.
Yeah.
You turned left when you got on the plane because you're traveling first class.
Lovely stuff.
The steward brings you two things, a citrusy IPA, low alcohol, and a note from the Maltese Family Foundation. And the Family Foundation have a challenge for you, and I think I know where this is going. They'd like you to limit your musical intake to one very specific genre of music for 12 months.
That is, I mean, yeah, the obvious one is jazz, but that feels cheating because it's very broad. I mean, if I had to hone down, I'd go specific one artist, Blossom Dearie, the jazz vocalist.
Wow.
I've listened to her for hours. So yeah.
Right. Blossom Dearie. It's interesting. So the other interviews have thrown up some really interesting choices here. I didn't expect the head of Chinese art at Sotheby's to choose hip hop.
Yeah.
And somebody else chose live music, which I thought was clever.
That is smart. That's really...
And other people have chosen musical genres that they don't get, and they on the basis that if they spend a year listening to it,
yeah.
You know, somebody chose rap and I said, why rap? And they said, I don't like rap, but if I listen to it for long enough, I might do.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, you arrive then in the Tatra Mountains in Poland, and a group of young singers have been detailed to look after you. They take you to a lovely house in the mountains, and they say there is a local town or city. They said, right, unpack, relax, settle in. We're going to come back and take you out to a dance performance and then to dinner. Okay?
Yeah.
Now this is where the magic wand and the time machine come in. So I can put any dance performance in front of you, historical, any dancers, living or not, any dance group, any dance style, and it doesn't have to be Polish culture.
That is hard. And who I am thinking of has just gone completely out of my head. Who was it that I just... the name's gone out of my head. What they do hasn't. It's the kind of improvised dance in New York that was kind of about kind of, I guess, John Cage era.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll try and find that if we can.
Yes.
And we'll come back to... Now they're taking you out to dinner.
Yeah.
And you get to choose the national cuisine, anything you like.
Oh. Cuisine. I mean, I'm a big foodie. I'm going to go a really specific meal that I had in Salzburg in Austria once, which was like spinach gnocchi.
Oh, that sounds
yeah,
good.
They were delightful. So that would be good. The dance is Merce Cunningham.
Who?
Merce Cunningham. So MERCE Cunningham.
Okay, I shall have a look.
Yeah.
Right, we're nearly there. We're going to have a week of culture together in London. Okay. Monday is a pop or rock show. Tuesday is a theatre play. Wednesday is a West End musical. Thursday is an opera, and Friday is the movies. And we get to choose between us what we're doing. Now, you can use the time machine. Is there a musical performance that you'd love to travel back in time to see?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, maybe using time machine to also bring them to the UK. I don't know when they play in the UK, but Sonny Stitt, who's my personal alto sax jazz hero.
Yeah, we can do that.
Ace.
We have a Star Trek transporter as well. So
Great,
we can do
lovely.
that. What about a theatre play in London?
A theatre play. Oh, um, terrible because it's only just been on, and I never got the chance to go see it. But the production of Importance of Being Earnest that was at the National Theatre.
Oh,
That
yes.
was on recently.
Who was in that? Was it?
It was Shooty Gatwa, who,
Yeah,
yeah,
love it. What
yeah,
about a West End musical?
West End musical.
We could see the premiere.
It would have to be something of Sometimes. Uh, Probably. Oh, if I had to go for a Sondheim premiere, what would it be? I don't know. I
Can
mean,
I
like
can I
something like,
suggest one?
yeah, please do suggest one. Go for
I
it.
think it might have to be Into the Woods.
Yeah, that's a really strong choice. Really strong choice. Yeah.
Opera. What about an opera?
Opera, anything at Opera Holland Park, which is my favourite opera. I guess not house because it's a giant marquee of choice, but yeah, probably one of my favourites, which is a Un ballo in Mascara, which is just a
Ooh,
great opera.
yeah, love that. And finally, we're going to the movies. I'd like you to choose a film that we can watch at the IMAX at Waterloo in Waterloo. We've got the best seats in the house, wonderful sound, huge wraparound screen. What movie do you think? What movie do you love that I may not have seen?
Oh, I mean, you probably will have you may have seen it, but keeping with the very cultural theme because it's got a lot of dance in it. American in Paris,
Oh yeah,
great, and the
love that.
score to that is.
Oh, I know. I played the car horns in that. I did that at
Great.
Symphony Hall with Simon Rattle.
Oh wow.
That's great. There's a bit of a story around that in that I got stopped speeding on the way to the rehearsal and then ended up playing the car horns. There we go. Before I let you go, and you're going to have a wonderful year doing this and all those follow-on activities, the TV show, the TED Talk, the university tour. It's going to be a wonderful couple of years. I'm going to give you a hero lunch in London. So you're going to be eating spinach gnocchi with anybody you like, living or not, historical or otherwise, famous or not. If you could have a leisurely 2-hour lunch with anybody, and they will come, who would you choose?
I mean, it has got to be. If that's the case, Stephen Sondheim. It has to be. He is in the musical theatre thing, my big hero.
Yeah. There's no one to touch him.
Yeah, and just
that difference and the unique approach.
Yeah,
and those melodic lines that he makes the singers sing.
Oh yeah,
and they're so that they're not easy.
No,
it's like singing without punctuation.
Yeah, I mean, I just think really genius in terms of the writing, and also just it feels the music serves the storytelling and is willing to defy any preconceptions we have in order to achieve that.
Yeah, and some of the ensemble passages in those musicals are like the same ones in Mozart. They're so cleverly constructed, aren't they? And they're going in different ways.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you've just had lunch with Stephen Sondheim. What a lovely way to end. Joe, thank you so much for doing this. Wherever this appears, there'll be information about you and links and things. And thank you again for being one of our full members. As a community, we're entirely member funded, so it's very much appreciated. Don't dash off, but for the time being, Joe Ellen, thank you very much for sharing your fantasy cultural year.
My pleasure.